Hey everyone, how are you all today? It's the spring equinox! Hurrah! Finally, spring is here. The days are getting a bit longer, they're getting a bit warmer. I hope those of you who've got snow are seeing it start to melt by now, because I don't know how you cope. Seriously, if I had snow now, I'd be going a bit tonto. We don't have snow today, but it's a really grey, miserable, windy, grotty day in London, which is actually a good thing, because whenever I'm off work and it's half decent weather, I just want to go outside and play. So today, because it is a bit grotty outside and because I had quite a good session yesterday in the kitchen garden, I've moved indoors today because I need to, which you'll see in a moment, start pricking out some of the seeds I sowed beginning of February, and I need to start sowing some more seeds. So today I'm going to sow celery, tomatoes and leeks. I'm just thinking actually I might not do the leeks today because I can't find my container for them, but certainly celery and tomatoes. And then I'm going to start pricking out this little lot. Let me show you. So here is the perfect demonstration of the pleasure and the pain of gardening. I'll talk about these in a second. Let's just show you these first. Beautiful little geranium plants. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy with these. Let me just pop them down and speak to you again. Obviously they're flowers that I'm not going to eat. You can use the leaves to scent a sponge cone. Oh, I looked in the wrong place again, didn't I? Never mind. They're a complete little bit of frippery. I do like some flowers around the plot for to attract the pollinators in, but also just as a kind of a bit of joy, a bit of, you know, come on, welcome into the plot, come and have a look, enjoy the flowers. So I sowed 18 and 11 have turned into gorgeous little plantlets. And then what's great with these, I said geraniums, didn't I? They're actually pelargoniums. What's lovely, look, isn't that a gorgeous little plant? After they've done their thing over the summer and the autumn, I can bring them indoors in the winter, overwinter them in the house, take cuttings, propagate them, and have even more next year. So I'm really, really delighted with them. They remind me of my grandparents' place. I think most of us, that smell of the pelargonium leaves as you brush against them, that I think we've all had a grandparent with a conservatory or a lean-to where the geraniums are living, and it's going to be gorgeous. However, here's the pain part. I don't know if this, whoops, will pick up. These are my peppers. So I sowed 9 this way of the orange bell, 9 here of, I can't quite remember the name, de Lande, of which 1 has germinated. So it's just something in gardening we have to get used to, is the disappointment of rubbish germination. It's interesting actually. I was talking to a plot friend yesterday and I said I had the first little tinge feeling of pressure this year. So previously my plot has provided masses of my food, up to sort of 65–70%. And the whole process has been an absolute joy, a hobby, something outside of work, an absolute joy. For the first time ever, in the last couple of days, I've sensed a sort of a creeping pressure that it has to work this year. And actually, I don't want that feeling. I do not want that feeling at all. I want to keep the feeling of, this is just for pleasure, this is my special safe place that I go to, where I lose myself. So I have that awareness of that sort of creeping emotion. So when I become aware of it, I'm just going to nip it in the bud and say, nah, there's no pressure, this continues to be the most beautiful, pleasurable thing. With the peppers, yeah, I'm a bit disappointed, but then again, they're a new thing for me this year. They're an extra thing, so you win some, you lose some. Hopefully the ones that have got will grow. I think the idea is they're going to live in the cold frame, so they stay nice and warm. The top of the cold frame may be open, but at least around the sides they'll be warm and protected from wind and stuff. So we'll just have to see how it goes. So it's time to get potting on. One of the reasons for potting on is because I need these little pots for my next sowings. Before I forget, just disappearing a second. This is my next pricking out job to do. This is the celeriac. Now, they look incredibly weedy. In fact, a couple of them have damped off, they're so weedy. The first year I grew celery, they were like this, and I waited and waited and waited for more leaves to come, and they just never came. The second year I grew them, they were at about this stage with maybe 2, 3, 4 true leaves, and I pricked them out, potted them on, and suddenly they seemed to burst forth. So I'm thinking about taking the same approach with the celeriac as I do with the celery. They're so little and fiddly to handle, but that's another job for this morning. Oh, we'll see how it goes. Again, it's another experimental for me this year. They won't take up too much space on the plot, so if this lot fails, I will just simply stick an extra bunch of bush beans or something in, something that I know I can rely on. Anyway, that's a really fiddly job. I'm not going to film it because I'll probably be cursing like a navvy as I do it. And I don't think any of you need to hear my repertoire of bad words. So I'm going to get on with this lot. I'm going to try something new with the video editing in a minute as well. So I'm going to let the camera roll a bit, and we'll see if what I've got planned works. So let's crack on. Thanks, Dave. Crack on. Honestly, you can't say a thing, can you, without thinking of some other YouTuber and thinking, oh no, that's their phrase. Can't say it, Vivi. Can't say it, mustn't say it. So, oh, these peppers are precious little things, aren't they? Oh, that's actually probably too soon. Oh well, pop it in and see how it does. I think one of the lessons in this is just to not be too precious about anything. That kind of goes back to what I was saying a minute ago about feeling the pressure for the plot this year. It's got to be a pleasure still. You know, I don't know how those competition growers do it. Trying not to handle it by the stem. They are really, really little to be handling just yet. Oh, Vivi, are you making a huge mistake, girl? We'll soon find out, won't we? So I wonder what those of you who have got snow get up to at the moment. Grow lights, grow mats, all that sort of thing. So tiddly and spindly. Gosh, I hope I haven't shot myself in the foot doing this so soon. I chose these peppers, the Orange Bell. They come from a company who, well, firstly their traceability is excellent, but also everything is grown and developed in the UK, so everything should be suitable for our climate. And this Orange Bell apparently should suit our wet and not hot summers, and apparently it's supposed to be suitable for outdoor growing. Obviously, if you've got a greenhouse or conservatory where you grow things, your options are, you have considerably more options. On our site, unfortunately, at the end of each section of the plots, there's space for 2 sheds. So you either have a shed, 2 sheds as in one shed for one plot holder, another shed for the other plot holder. So if you want a greenhouse, you can have a greenhouse, but you can't have a shed. And for me, I would always prefer having a shed, just because it's somewhere to get out of the weather, obviously storing things, what have you. Okay, I'm going to tinker along with this. and I will see you shortly. And we're back. So the prickings and what have you are done. Well, I haven't actually done the celeriac yet, I'm lying. I'll do that in a minute. It's a super fiddly job and my belly's rumbling, so I'm going to put something in my belly before I do that. But now I'm just going to start sowing the tomatoes. I was going to show them in here, but I don't think they show up, so I'm going to just tip them. Excuse me, I'm going to have to take my glasses off now as well, they're for distance, I can't see a thing. Do they pick up on there a little bit better? Look how tiny they are! They're so precious! So these are my Gardener's Delight, some seed I saved from last year. Someone was asking me the other day about how, you know, what variety to pick, where do you start? Because if you look in your catalogues, which I know you've been doing all winter, because that's what we do, isn't it? We don't go out and see friends. We just stay at home reading our gardening catalogues. The problem when you buy a tomato from your greengrocer or your supermarket is you've got no idea what variety it is, more times than not. So how do you know what you like to eat? The thing I would say, the best thing to do is if you've just got a new allotment or if you've got neighbours over the fence who grow, ask if you can try a bite. And if you like it, ask them what it is and have a go at growing it. The thing about asking your plot neighbours is if they've been growing for 3 or 4 years, that should mean, in theory, that whatever variety it is works well on that soil, works well on that microclimate, in that microclimate. And also, when you're asking your new neighbours what they grow, it's a really nice way of just getting to know people and introducing yourself. So I chose Gardener's Delight 3 or 4 years ago. Most of the things I chose 3 or 4 years ago when I first started were things that I remember my grandparents growing and things I remember eating from my grandparents' garden and enjoying. So that's why Gardener's Delight was it was an absolute definite on my list. They've proved to be great little tomatoes for me. They're lovely raw, they're great cooked. The skins aren't too tough, so if you're cooking them with the skins on as well, the skins just kind of melt, which is lovely. They're a high acid tomato, so they're really good for bottling. I'm talking now bottling for long-term storage, where you would use a water bath canner, and you do have to increase the acidity with something like, say, lemon juice. So yeah, they're a really good all-rounder. So I've grown them each year. Keep saving my seed. There was 1 year I couldn't save seed because blight came so quickly and just devastated the whole crop before I had time to pick and save. So yeah, save your seed as well. Now, in the last couple of years, did I put the seed in there? I can't see, they're so tiny. I've tried a couple of other varieties. Last year I tried Cilega, which is Italian for cherry tomato. Does what it says on the tin, and they were beautiful. They had these long fronds, really long, sort of almost like a pony's tail. Really pretty little fruits, great to just chuck in a salad. But they were tiny, and oh my goodness, they were so fiddly to process. And look, they were taking up space, so I just thought I'm not going to do them this year. They were beautiful, but there's more to a plant than beauty. So they're out. The other one I tried last year was called Chadwick Cherry. So again, it was great raw, it was great cooked, they've stored really well. So I've decided to grow them again. The other reason, they seemed to be they ripened and were ready to harvest about probably about 3 or 4 weeks before the Gardener's Delight, which for me on my site where we always get blight is a really good thing. So I'm hoping that by having the Chadwick Cherry, that if we do get some blight, I will at least have some tomatoes. Now, in terms of number of plants, someone was asking me again the other day about how many plants do I grow of each thing. the bottom line is, it depends what you like to eat. If you don't like tomatoes, why would you have 40 tomato plants? If you love tomatoes, you want to have more. Something I did a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, which is very nerdy, very geeky, over the course of a year, actually a little bit more than a year, I kept notes of every vegetable I was using in the kitchen, whether it came from shops or whether it came from the garden. I made a note, so that basically by the end of the year I could see how many pounds of X, Y and Z vegetables I used. I kind of had a good idea anyway because of going to the allotment and thinking, oh no, it's the last of my I wish I had more. So over the years I've been able to sort of think, okay, I don't need as much of that, I'm not really eating as much, I need lots more of that. So I've worked out that about 20 plants, 20 tomato plants, no blight, that's enough to keep me in tomatoes for the whole year. So fresh through the summer and autumn, and then bottled, frozen, however you preserve them, to keep me going until June the following year, July the following year when the first ones come. I was just on the garden yesterday and I've actually put my onions in, but I've done a whole extra row of 25 because I think last year's are about to run out about mid-May and I won't harvest till about mid-July. So just kind of going on those, that's not having written it in the book or anything, but just knowing how many I planted last year and when they're going to run out, it's like, okay, I need more. Also on the subject, people have mentioned to me, why don't you grow high value crops? So strawberries, herbs, that sort of thing, asparagus. If I grow high value crops, I could sell them as, you know, to form part of an income. So there's two reasons I won't do that. One is because on our site we're not allowed to sell or barter with our produce. We can give to each other, so if I've got a spare butternut squash, I can give it to one of my neighbours. If they happen to give me some potatoes back, that's fine, but we're not officially allowed to exchange. We can give away surplus, but that's it. And the other reason for not growing for selling is because my plot isn't actually that big. It's just enough to feed me. So the last thing I want to do is to grow vegetables to then either sell or whatever to other people, because I'm going to need every inch of space. And on that subject, people have been asking me about fruit because I don't have any fruit on my plot. Again, it's a thing of space and sort of prioritising what I like to eat, what stores well, that sort of thing. I'm not a huge fruit eater. I quite like the berries, that sort of thing, the soft fruits, which I manage to forage for, and I get given quite a lot from people for looking after their plots in the summer if I'm watering their plots, for example. So I do have my berries in my porridge in the morning or in my smoothie, that's great. If I was lucky enough to have a second plot, I would almost certainly have at least half of it as fruit, because having your own fresh fruit is wonderful. But for now, again, it's all about prioritising what is. So for me, fruit is a bit of a snack and it's an extra, whereas my vegetables are, they're obviously the main part of my diet. It's what I eat. You know, 90% of every meal is vegetables. So for now, I'll stick with the vegetables. If by some luck someone wants to give me another plot, I'll start growing some fruit. Of course, it would be no good for this year because it's going to take a while for fruit to get established. But we'll see. Who knows what the future will bring. I'm just covering these seeds up now. Speaking of covering, as a general rule with your seeds, very general rule, you sort of cover them to the depth of about one depth of the seed. So obviously with these little teeny tiny seeds, it's a mere sprinkling over the top, which I'm going to get on with now. Oh, it's so great, isn't it, to get seeds in? It's so great. I think what was lovely yesterday as well on the allotment, seeing the first flowers appearing on the broad beans, the autumn sown broad beans. It just makes you want to skip down the lanes. I'll get arrested if I do that. Anyway, I'm going to say cheerio to you all for now. Hope the snow's melting. Hope you're managing to get some time in your gardens. And if you can't get into your garden, hope you're getting your indoor sowings done. And if you can't even do that, I hope you're enjoying inventing menus from whatever you've got left over in storage from last year. So for now, let me put my specs back on so I can see you. I say cheerio, happy gardening, and I'll catch you next time.